Dr. Ressmann, thank you for joining us. You are the president of both Media Dialogue and Youth4Media organizations, civil society organizations in Germany, and a longtime advocate for democracy and media freedoms. To begin with, could you briefly introduce these organizations for our audience, please?
Yeah, first of all, hello, Mr. Darella. Thanks for the invitation. And answering your question, yeah, it means we have these two projects. They are connected on the base of the organization called Youth4Media. And Media Dialogue is the political part, let's say it in this way. Meanwhile, 10 years old, we started 2015 with the Media Dialogue project, shortly 1 year after the Maidan revolution in Ukraine, to help Ukraine civil society, students, to build democracy, to build a working state, and to use media in transporting democratic values, European values, and to do it together on eye level. Meanwhile, the whole project is working in Ukraine, where we started, in Moldova, in Georgia, in Armenia, and with a journalist organization of Belarus in exile. We started in Minsk, but Minsk left the partnership. Minsk went to Moscow, and so we have to work with the exile representatives of free journalism. We have several journalist organizations also in Germany. The biggest one is the DJV in Germany, the German Union of Journalists, with more than
27,000 from what I know,
yeah,
yes.
The biggest one, fighting for freedom of press and democratic values too. And this is the thing we did since 10 years. And we had this child, and this child brought us together, Media Dialogue Goes Balkan, working with civil also since 4 years, I think, meanwhile. And so our struggle for democracy becomes more and more important in the situation we have in the world and we have in Europe. We will start with a new project, hopefully, again funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 2025, this year. The end of the year, just starting the preparation phase. So continuation is one of the most important things, because we need a long time to fight for
Yes,
our.
I agree with that. Absolutely, continuity is a prerequisite for real success.
But we are not only working, let's say, in a political way, or making only journalism and media work. We are also working in the field of media literacy, meaning to work with target groups. We are just running a bigger project, Hateless, with 6 partners from EU countries, youth organizations, media partners, media literacy institutes, and so on, to work with young people and to help them, let's say it this way, to overcome hate and to make things in democracies more understandable, and to think about values they have. So educational is one base, political activeness and active media arbeit is the other way, and both combined means Media Dialogue plus Youth4Media.
That's absolutely impressive, and I see now that your organizations are doing a real important job, not only in the sphere of socio-political processes within Europe and beyond, but also in crisis regions, but also working on the legacy for the young generations, which is, I would say, pivotal in this context. But Dr. Ressmann, before we dive in, how do you personally perceive the current moment for democracy in Europe and globally as well?
Yeah, I think it's we are really living in hard times. I started making politics when I was rather young in the 80s, in times of Cold War. But in the times of Cold War, the situation was even more dangerous because of a possible atomic war between NATO and Warsaw Pact. This was over and over in our sky. And in my area, I live in Palatinate in Germany, that some hills here, but a lot of hills were based of atomic bombs. They all vanished in the 18s, and the difference is that in the 80s we had discussions and we had a route to peace and overcome this confrontation. And we all thought, I think, on the Balkan too, you had this cruel war. Uh, Naturally, and another view to the whole situation in Germany and in the West, we all thought the Cold War is over. We can step by step making peace on the continent, um, not having differences, not to become all the same, but having differences. But we have a culture for discussion based on peace. And that all changed and makes me, yeah, not very happy, and makes me concerned about a development of confrontation, a new war like Ukraine, but it was not the first war in Georgia. It's also part of Europe. We had this attack of a NATO partner, Turkey, against Armenia, and throwing out 120,000 Armenians from Bergkarabakh. So war is coming back to Europe. And this is one of the things which concerns me a lot. And Ukraine is one of the biggest ground wars we've ever had in the world after the Second World War. We have to imagine this. And this is also not a war starting in 2022. It started in 2014.
Right.
We have to remember. So I'm very concerned. And based on all these things concerning me too, the growing up, we will, I think we will talk about later, of the right-wing growth. That a new fascism is rising up in the horizon of Europe and in the Western states, USA naturally included, what we see every day in the news.
Exactly, and it is quite a worrying fact that unlike the 80s when the atomic threat was obviously quite real, still there were other parallel processes that were driving towards peaceful reconciliation, peaceful resolution of issues, global issues. Now it seems like the dialogue has been substituted for with a long string of different monologues, and those are filled with lies, with false narratives, with hate. That's why your hateless project is so pivotal, so important and crucial. But also they're filled with nationalism and far right radicalism and extremism, and that's somewhere that we're going to arrive later in this conversation. But first of all, you coming from Germany and being closely following and analyzing the situation, the political situation, being also a practitioner. Um, Germany has recently held parliamentary elections with the far right winning 20% of the votes and the Social Democrats losing power. How would you describe the political situation in Germany now? And what are your expectations from the new CDU, CSU, CDU, CSU-led government. What challenges and opportunities do you see there?
Yeah, first of all, don't forget the Social Democrats. They are also member of this parliament.
Yes,
And
yes, absolutely.
from the Social Democrats, 7 ministers are working till the day before yesterday, after this election in the parliament, where Merz lost the first round. And I think that shows the problematic situation of Germany. We have several problems in Germany at the moment. We have economic development, which is not easy because of the whole change of the things. We have based on energy, the mistakes which were made to get too close to the Russian Federation, to the Putin regime, in delivery of so-called cheap gas. This was cut off. Now we have this crazy right-wing populist government in the US closing their market. This is a whole worldwide problem. But for export-orientated economy like Germany, it's a problem too. We have not the best economic situation in China, the other market. The other problems of the internal development of democracy, inverted commas, in China is another point. But economically, we are under pressure. Our industry is under pressure to make innovations. Our automobile industry failed with the whole electrical development. Since 2 years they restarted, and I think when Germany is restarting, there will be interesting results on the roads in the next years. This is one point. The other point is that you have still the internal problems between East and West Germany. 30 years ago, okay, the unification process started, but it's still not over. The mentality of the people differs. We have our common problems in Europe. That means also migration is an internal problem, and we have the problems about the rich and the poor in our societies. That the rich people become more and more rich, and the other part do not participate in the welfare of the whole continent and in Germany. And this is one of the explanation of the growing of the right wing. And we have this radicalization and let's say a new fascism in the Russian Federation. Fascism in this kind is not comparable to National Socialism we had in Germany, but it's a kleptocratic system. It's a system where also an elite is getting a lot of richdom of the societies and turning this things to nationality and in confrontation. And this all means big problem. And we have, and this is one of the most important, but also hopefully good ways for the future. We have the Europe with a lot of problems, but we have Europe to work on it. This is the situation at the moment, and let's see what the new government in Germany will do. Hopefully, I was after the second round, Merz gets chancellor. Social Democrats are still in government, and I was very. I saw the pictures yesterday that Merz went to Paris, meeting with Macron, and then went to Warsaw. That were pictures. I think they were necessary in Europe, and these were some things which Scholz did not produce in a way he should have done it. That's the situation, in my view, at the moment, after a really week of political adventures.
Yes, the situation is developing anyway. We can't really give longer term predictions of prognosis. It's still so to speak, volatile. Well, not as some other countries, but still there are still processes to be conducted, and we will see what the outcome of that of those processes will be. From what you say, I could, if I may evaluate, I can see that you're a mild or a reserved, cautious optimist that things will roll into a positive direction. So am I. So, but still, we have quite a few worrying signals and issues to discuss about that are unfolding as we speak, and that is that across Europe, the far right is gaining ground more and more. From AfD in Germany, Marine Le Pen in France, Giorgia Meloni in Italy, though she looks like she's sticking to the European story and the NATO story, but and the Coalition of the Willing initiative. Still, she comes from a far right background. Robert Fico in Slovakia and a few other countries in the continent. Not to speak about Orban's regime, which is now very long in power, and not to mention the Western Balkans and a few others. What do you see as the root cause of this surge? You mentioned the poor and the division between the poor and the rich that give some energy to the far right. But what risks do this pose to European democracies, this surge, both politically and socially? Can you give us an explanation and maybe describe what kind of risks we are facing nowadays in face of the rise of the far right radicalism?
Yeah, first of all, the far right, what does that mean? That means nationalism, that means separation, not cooperation, separation, that means confrontation, and that means simple answers to very, very complicated questions and challenges in our society. So the way of nationalism and the way of new fascism is a very dangerous way. And in the past, it caused war. When you have a look at the development of Russia and in the Putin regime, it means war. It means thousands, hundreds of thousands of dead people. Let's say it absolutely concrete. And this means right-wing, nationalist, fascist politics in the perspectives. So this is one point, shows how important it is to fight against it. Because this is a danger for all of us, not only for political changes in our countries and not only questions how to handle migration problems. This is a substantial danger for all of us, like we had in the past. And looking back 80 years, for 80 years ago, the Second World War finished, we saw what can happen when fascists are in power. Let's say it in this way. So we have to fight, and it's a stress situation for democracies. We have to we need new legitimation for our democratic systems, and that new legitimation means that we have to define the role of the state. Welfare, for example, housing is a question. Social rights in the housing, healthcare is a question, and education. And the state must be able to, and infrastructure naturally, roads, railways, and so on. This is my opinion. The state has to show that we can solve these problems and these efforts with our democratic elected representatives. And that means we have to think about good finance, about the states, and naturally combined fight of corruption. Corruption does not have any chance in all European countries, in the East of the West. Corruption is one of the most important things which is producing distrust in democracy and in the state. And what we also need is a new defining, I think, of the role of the political parties, of the parliament, that the parliamentarians are working for the people and not working for themselves. So the election of the leading personnel, the process how to become a parliamentarian, is also a question we have to discuss all together. And there are things where I think not every personal decision, is the best decision. Let's say it in a very diplomatic way. And what we need is in media, we need a new effort in our European media system. European media system means we have to build up a system of our own social media. Facebook and the whole US dominated IT and social media combinates are not the solution. We are just having a look about the questions, checking the truth on Facebook, what Trump is doing, and so on. We need our own media in Europe, social media. We have to the first steps are made. For example, Arte can become cultural overhead media for all Europe under public control. And media and the task of journalists is to tell the truth, working on the truth, and not making sensational journalism. This is also one of the most dangerous things, but being more orientated on the truth. And we need, and this is also a democratic financial thing, how to finance the democratic press and give them a chance to survive in this in this jungle of media development. And last but not least, the people. The people themselves are also responsible to think about what they want. We need people with consciousness thinking about things they are living around, and not only making some comments on Facebook concerning hate speech. And this is also a question of law, that they see that there will be punishment by law when democratic rules are also not accepted by single peoples. All these things together, we have to make a restart of values, a restart and change in the West for rebuild and to make democracy strong again. I think we are strong, the values are strong, but we have to work on it. We have to renovate our democratic house.
That's absolutely important. And I was just thinking now myself, you taking the question about the challenges from the far right. You started with a chilling prognosis or a warning, I would say, sounded the alarm of a war, which is in the core of what far right extremism and radicalism is. And then you developed your response into what should be done and how it should be done, and especially in the area of journalism, of media freedoms, civil society, and also finalizing with the responsibility of the people, which is actually the reason that we all do our jobs in this public sector and in the media and civil society. But Dr. Ressmann, I mean, this all sounds very good, what you said that should be done. But do you think journalism today is rising to the challenge? Honestly.
And this is one of the very, very important question that we need, and this is a test of all journalists who say we are telling the truth and working on the truth and making research about background, about corruptions, and to be a power in the fourth power in a state. Yeah, we have to reestablish strong media economically. We have to think about how can media survive economically in the whole digital media situation. What can we do against, and there again, the big players from the US are becoming important. What can we do to make taxation on Facebook, on Google, on all the things they do, and to give this to the development of and the support of a democratic press. Now we are having the debate that Facebook and the other big players are make a bigger robbery of our thinking to feed their KE. The AE, the
artificial intelligence, künstliche Intelligenz.
And they get it for nothing. They try to get it for nothing. And there are the resources, also the economical resources, to support, to give our media the chance to survive economically with a fair taxation of the big players. And this is one point, and the other point is we need in Europe strong public media. Strong public media, independent from the state, being paid by the people. This is, I think, Germany is a good example. BBC also, but you saw they are under pressure also from the right wing. Public media are under pressure from the right wing because they don't want the truth. And we have to defend public media, but we also have to say to the journalists in the public media, be more offensive, be more, be more near the truth, and to say no to some forces in the power, to really telling also conflict stuff, and bringing conflicts also to the surface and to the media. So this is not a thing we can work like we have worked in the past. We have to wake up also in journalism.
Yes, living in the Balkans, living and working in the Balkans, I can witness myself how important public media are, and how important, even more important, independent media are. And from the experience with the public media, I can say that they are everything but not public. However, well, let's go on with even more pressing issues. Ukraine and the European responsibility, if I may call this as a special chapter in which I would like to dive in the next few minutes. You personally, and also as the head of the civil society organizations that you're guiding, have consistently and full-heartedly supported Ukraine's struggle for freedom. And I commend you for that, of course. And now, can you tell us about your core projects that are related to Ukraine and Ukraine's struggle, your successes and probably some challenges that you're facing nowadays?
Yeah, I think for me, defending Ukraine against this Russian full-scale attack is important. From the role from Germany from the past, we made it We had one slogan in Germany: never war from German ground, based on the experience of the Second World War. No, we have to say, we all have, and Germany is in the middle, at the biggest one, in the responsibility: no more offensive war, no more war attacks from European ground. No national state should be possible, should be allowed to attack another state in our continent. This is one of my most based, let's say, energy to support Ukraine. What we are doing concrete, we talked about the media and the role of media in democratic societies, and we imagined when we started the work together with one independent journalist organization in Ukraine, in Lutsk, Hoya Daniluk. You know her meanwhile too, with his father. His father founded an organization of independent journalists in the west of Ukraine, and we combined it with the educational part of the Tarashenko University at Kiev, the Institute of Journalism, 10 years ago, to work together with young students of journalism and media workers in Ukraine, to give them possibilities, what freedom of speech means, what it means to be responsible for self-made media products shown on YouTube and so on, and also reflecting the problems of their country in the media system of Ukraine. And when we started, it was we had the state-owned media system, very old techniques. It was like a museum in Kiev. 2015 or 2016, we had a lot of TV talks in this time, and on the other side, we had this upcoming private TV system. And one of the first impressions was they are owned by oligarchs. And freedom of speech was okay when the interests of the oligarchs are out of this broadcast stations. And that was really.
You can say everything you like, but don't mention the oligarchs.
Yeah, don't mention the owner of the station. That was a beginning, but in the private media also young people inspired by Maidan were orientating themselves in the new development of a democratic society in Ukraine, how to build it. And naturally, the financial point was important. So research was not so big. I think it's the same situation today. A lot of live transmissions were in the middle, talking were in the middle, and when you only talk, you have no time to prove the things you talk about, to find out you know what I mean. So one of the point was also with the support of Deutsche Welle to build a public radio TV and system in Ukraine with decentralization. And because in the beginning it was all very centralized, and the decentralization process should also be a part of the new media system of Ukraine. This was the challenges till the war, to support Ukraine, to connect the journalist organization. Lina Kush, you know her meanwhile too, the first secretary, joined us with Sergei Tomolenko. And we also made in this project the possibility to bring journalists and young people from the other former Soviet republics in the project, so that the youngsters from the East, from the different countries, and hardworking journalists can learn from each other and about different developments in their countries. And this was also I think one of the big results that are really connections were built, and we have this connections also building through our project to the German journalist organization, and also to our common work was brought us together too. So the network is working based on the values for young people. Last sentence: a lot of young people, like Ola is in London meanwhile, because we could help her to get a place at the university to make her master. Her sister is a US citizen meanwhile, with a license as a lawyer in the US, also fighting for Ukraine. So we helped a lot of multipliers, and to have a chance to develop international and in the media system in Ukraine itself. So these are a lot of things. I think we can really say it's a project which worked. 10 years is an example that there is power behind.
That's impressive. That's really impressive what you're doing in the last decade or so, including the war years, the full scale invasion of Russia against Ukraine and against Europe, I would say. And your engagement is extremely important, and I think we can learn a lot from that. And also, I had the pleasure to meet either online or in person with all the persons that you mentioned, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you. And of course, it's an inevitable question, Dr. Ressmann, about Germany and Germany's current stance on Ukraine. How did you follow the evolvement, the evolution of the position of Germany towards the Russian aggression from the beginning of the full-scale invasion to today? There was a lot of changes. There were a lot of changes. Would you agree with this?
Completely. During our media dialogue process, I will start in November 2021. I made an interview with the military TV of Ukraine, and I made one mistake. I said Nord Stream 2, this gas relationships to Russia are a peacekeeping mission. Because I thought, based on my experience in Cold War, I mentioned at the start of our discussion, was that when you talk with each other, then you don't shoot as each other. And I thought
Right.
that the same things, and in the East, you know what I mean, we met a lot of, in Soviet times, a lot of meetings, also vodka-based, and building trust. And I thought that this in the background happens too, but it does not happen. Everyone working with Russia only had a look at money, at dollar signs in the eyes, and said, okay, political things are not interesting. Interesting, we want to make cash. And this is a big disappointment also with to Gerhard Schröder. I know him personally from former times. This is a big disappointment, make a lot of things possible which had happened, big mistakes also from German sides in this area we had. The other point was that I knew also from our partner who is in the military now, the father of Ora, that the Ukrainian army becomes more and more strong, and that the risk to start the war is very high. And we saw that was really right. Nobody believes that a strong Ukraine with this army is an easy part to overcome in between days, like Putin dreamed. This was in the mainly the US. mainly the US supported the Ukraine military, not not on only on welfare reasons, but also on concrete economical interest. Okay, but they did it, and Germany and I think most of the Western part thought really, because they didn't were in Ukraine like we had been with this project so narrow, that this war could be really a defense, a chance of defense for Ukraine. The ones in the country know Russian for Russian, it will be a big military problem we see now. For all others, it's all 3 days, and then Ukraine is gone. That is a part of the truth. And this process of change was a painful process for Germany. Remember when the Ministry of Defense, Mrs. Lambrecht, spent 5,000 helmets in the beginning. And the other development was that Olaf Scholz need a long time to make decisions to protect Ukraine and to deliver military goods and weapons, and that only making it possible in the shadow of the US. In the shadow of the Biden administration. So Germany delivered the most weapons. Germany is one of the most important supporters of Ukraine, meanwhile, but till Biden, the Biden government was in power, in the shadow of the US. And I think this was a mistake too, not to get the leading positions naturally together with the US, the European partners, but not in the shadow, coming out in the shadow and playing in an old role. I think meanwhile it will the things that changed. The Trump administration with all the craziness is not. You can't say what happens today based on things which had happened yesterday. You never know what surprises come.
I think sometimes it's on a daily basis, several times.
And so there is only one chance to build this, to build a strong support based on European, based on, we will talk about it, also a coalition of the willings to support Ukraine and to make the European capacity of military against aggression from Russia, from other sides, and to become independent from the US, to one of the most important things, also to unify Europe and to stabilize democracy. I think to stand on our own legs, also in military way, is one of the big tasks. And so the development of the consciousness about Ukraine, the consciousness in Germany, the development of consciousness in Germany about this change of Russia as a partner which make the unification process of Germany possible under Gorbachev, no to absolutely unacceptable political system on our continent. It's a long way, and we should do anything to support Ukraine like we are doing now, and to develop this consciousness also with the democratic undercover workers in the Russian Federation. It's not the Russian Federation, not the people are the enemies. The Putin ideological. This is the point which should have never again a place in Europe.
Do you send this message for Germany, or would you copy it to the whole of Europe? What message should Europe and European societies and governments send to Ukraine right now at this critical moment?
I think, that's a message to Germany, but to whole Europe, because it's a test of whole Europe. Germany is not strong enough to be the only supporter. It isn't the only supporter. The European support for Ukraine is strong, and we should do everything in the supporting countries. If the US support is degrading, we have to fill the gap and use this filling the gap to build up also the military security system. We need our own satellites. We need own rocket system for satellites, military, and
That's right.
and so on, and technology. So it's not only a question of delivery weapons, it's only a question delivering weapons, but building also a military structure based on European values and based on European capacity and being a strong one.
That's right. Well, somehow you're giving me the floor to first ask you about the coalition of the willing that has been started at the initiative of the United Kingdom Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, and in that respect, you're also involved in the Westminster Alliance for Ukraine as part of the Defending Democracy Global Initiative, which I will ask you about right after. But about the Westminster Alliance for Ukraine, what is its role within the broader defense of democracy in Europe and also of the defense capabilities of Europe?
I think, the tasks are clear. I was really impressed that Starmer started this initiative. And I was also, I think it was an intelligent, really intelligent way to overcome, perhaps in several years, the Brexit, to bring Great Britain nearer to Europe again. So because also Great Britain and the UK,
that was a mistake. Definitely.
is under pressure. But based on this, making the coalition of the willings, or bring it to work, it's important. Also with France, and France and Britain are atomic powers. They have not so much as the US, naturally, but atomic bombs are not weapons.
Right.
On the battlefield. Those are weapons for the heads, and this is important enough to show Putin not to play with the atomic question. To bring, and this is one of our idea to develop this Westminster Alliance, to bring also parliamentarians from the different countries and NGOs together, and to make this coalition of the willings, to give this a more stronger button, where people, where NGOs and organizations can stand, and to discuss and bring the message to our audiences, whatever that means, and to think about which consequences, which needs, and what results a coalition of the willings should produce. And so it's not only a process to support Ukraine in this dramatic situation, this in the focus, but to use the whole situation to reflect, to restructure, to new structure, let's say it so, of future. We have to see it in a multi-view system to also build our future.
Absolutely, yes, yes, and you somehow answered my question of what kind of outcomes you expect from the May 13 event of the Westminster Alliance for Ukraine at the UK Parliament. Actually, this is the first event of this program that has been devised within the Defending Democracy initiative, global initiative, and it's going to take place in at the UK Parliament, May 13. You will be one of the participants there, along with several online, but also several people in person at the UK Parliament, where these issues that you just outlined will be discussed, and some policy directives will be devised, I believe so. Anything to add to this point, or?
Yeah, let's cross fingers that there will be a great event next week in the London Parliament.
Yes, let me ask you about the mentioned Defending Democracy Global Initiative. You are one of the key figures behind the formation of this global initiative. I was honored, and it's a great pleasure to say that it has been born in Skopje, in North Macedonia, right after our real big international conference on defending democracy and human rights in the face of war, nationalism, and authoritarianism that has been held in December last year. And we, together with you and with several other people, have devised a very important, critically important publication and policy document. Could you tell us what this initiative, tell our audience what this initiative stands for, and where do you see it going?
I think the title says or transport the main tasks of this initiative: defending democracy and human rights in combination. Both are very narrow connected. And I think, let me say it also, it was a good place to start this initiative on the Balkan, because the Balkan knows very well, after the cruel war, civil war, or in the war, past Yugoslavian war, whatever, the look back on this cruel things happening first time after Second World War on the Balkan. So North Macedonia was one of the right places to start with this initiative, and so I'm very happy that our cooperation make it possible to have a starting point at Skopje. And
yes, of course, and thanks to you and to the Youth4Media, I have to say this, and the generous support of the government of the North Rhine-Westphalia in Germany, that has been made all these efforts possible. Excuse me, I just had to say this, to mention this. You're too humble to say that, but I had to confirm that this was predominantly led by you and your organization, and the support of the North Rhine-Westphalia government. And thank you for that. I can't say thank you enough.
And that also shows how important cooperation is.
That's right.
That North Rhine-Westphalia and North Macedonia are cooperating, and this was one of the results in very concrete support. So what the task is in the beginning of our conversation, we mentioned the things which are necessary now to do, and in the book you showed, we made together, also with the help from Heather from the US, from the Virginia
Heather Robertson
University.
Gaston from Virginia University.
We also
United
have this
States.
bow over the ocean, which shows the US democracy is also under, more than under pressure.
Absolutely.
Shows that we made a lot of thinkings and a lot of proposals, and to show the governments, to show the civil society, to show the politicians, to show the politics, what concrete possibilities we all together have to stabilize our democratic structures and to open our eyes, for example, to stabilize and to support NGOs in their work financially, but also against administrations and so on, give them a chance to be involved in political processes, to fight against corruption, like we have said, a bundle of different necessary things we have to think about, we have to do as Democrats all together.
Yes.
And beyond all our party interests we have, this is the base where Democrats have to work together. And this is the base against the right wing, and this is the base against the authoritarian systems like Russia at the moment, and against the propaganda and so on. This is the base for Democrats in Europe and hopefully global. We had a great, and I can say we have a great domain. It's .global.
Yes, yes. Thank you for mentioning that as well. And actually, this podcast will be also published there. Can I, Dr. Ressmann, just say, although you already mentioned several of the 10 areas in which this publication is providing policy recommendations and also proposals for concrete steps and concrete measures and activities and actions. The sixth chapter speaks about protecting media in fragile regions and journalists in exile, which is actually that you are doing for a number of years now with your projects within the Media Dialogue Initiative. But also I will not mention all, but I think it's important to say that the seventh chapter speaks about defeating disinformation and countering nationalist propaganda, which is also viewed through concrete measures that are actionable recommendations that governments and other entities within the societies don't have an explanation if they read it. And if they don't do it, they don't have an excuse because they're so easy to conduct. Only the practical will and a lot of work will bring success. Then also, as you mentioned earlier, empowering the civil society that is absolutely important, independent media and so on. And the 10th, the last but not the least, 10th chapter is about countering aggression and imperialism that Europe faces a historic decision to make. And this is also in the context of what you were speaking earlier in this podcast, in which you mentioned that you speak about Ukraine and you work with and about Ukraine a lot. But it is important to understand that it is a war that concerns all of us, all of our democracies. And that's why it's important to speak like you do. Like I had a conversation like this with Mr. Roger Casale from the New European People's Forum, and ahead of this meeting that the event at the UK Parliament, and of course we will continue doing a good job and a hard work in this direction. You obviously are entirely committed to these questions that are concerning democracy, concerning the war, concerning the reconstruction and democratization processes, and so on. And obviously, you're tirelessly engaged in the key issues that concern democracy in Europe, in Germany, in Ukraine, and globally. Finally, in that respect, Dr. Ressmann, what gives you hope in these difficult times? And what would be your message to young people, particularly, committed to democracy and human rights?
Yeah, I think we have a really good message for all. And good message means that people in Europe struggled for, since 1789, French Revolution, for democratic values. They struggled for independence, justice, that people have rights, and that we have a parliaments being elected, and that we have the right of freedom of speech. We have the right to found, like you did here, and I did in my past. You did it great in North Macedonia, our own media, and informing the audience. We have the right to express our experience, and we also imagined that we have to fight for this rights. We have to fight for these rights we learned from our past in Europe. As we remember the fascists in Spain, the civil war in Spain, the fascists of national socialism in Germany, which destroyed more than the continent completely, and to rebuild democracy, and that millions of people are part of this process of building democracy until now. That makes me optimistic. Our values, our economical success, our culture also, we must work on it again, of discussion, to say thesis and antithesis, and then come to a conclusion, and that there is that the truth is not given by God. We have to fight to understand what truth can be and what does it all mean. That this is a process, that there's not only one truth, and we find compromises. And that means that as human beings, we are social. And democracy means social for me too, that we have to speak on eye level with the same rights, not with the same possibilities in our societies, because of different issues, mainly economically and educational things. But we have all the same rights. And I think this message is a great message. We have to transport, but we have to have an eye on the right wing, and we have to have an eye on our social, economical development. We have to solve the problems that we have too many relatively poor people, and only a handful or several handfuls too rich people with too much influence, which are outside the democracy. It's a question of not controlled, not democratic controlled power, and this is the thing we have to discuss in the future. But the message is all are invited. And in Russia, a lot of people are not invited, and a lot of young men and less women are invited to die for Putin. And this is a big difference.
Dr. Ressmann, thank you very much for these compelling messages, and thank you very much for being part of the Defending Democracy podcast. We will call you soon to learn about the developments and new activities that you have undertaken in the meantime, and they are all conducted in the name of democracy, freedom, justice, equality, and human rights. Thank you once again, and see you soon again.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Darella. Greetings to Skopje.
Thank you.